Alrighty, so now that we've tested both sides of our system, we verified that the Wi-Fi part, the Temboo generated code, works perfectly, and I'm able to generate that text message. And we've also tested out the Grove sensor module. We're able to use the analog read function available in Energia to read the presence or non-presence of water with a little help of this moisture sensor from Grove, or from SeeedStudio. Now let's go ahead and combine those two sort of working subcomponents to build a complete application. So what I'm going to do here is jump back to the software side of the world, and I've got both the Temboo generated project as well as the original analog read project. So what we need to do is combine the two in a meaningful way. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and start to pull the relevant components from my analog read example. You can see here in the setup section, the first thing we had to do was call serial.begin. And this enables the UART connection to enable my launchpad to start sending data back to the serial monitor of the launchpad. However, I don't have to copy and paste this into the Temboo generated code because Temboo already took care of that for us, so no problem at all. Scrolling down a little bit, I do have to copy and paste a few lines of code in my loop function. And I'm just going to go ahead and grab these lines of code here. The first one is the analog read function that saves it into a variable called sensor value, and the second line of code prints it to the terminal so we can actually get some visual representation of our sensor data on the built-in serial monitor of Energia. So let's go ahead and copy that, and let's paste that into the loop section of the Temboo generated code. Great. So now our Temboo generated code is at least aware of the real world. It's reading the analog value coming in at pin number 23. The only thing we need to add now is some intelligence or logic. So what we really need is an if statement. So we only want to generate this Temboo generated code, or we only want to run this Temboo generated code when sensor value is not detecting any water, basically 0. So I want an if statement. If sensor value equals 0, only then should it generate the code or run the code that Temboo generated. So I'm going to go ahead and indent all of this code here by highlighting and pushing tab, and then I'm going to close the bracket. So now this Temboo generated code will only run when this if statement is true, when sensor value is equal to 0, basically meaning that no water is present. At this point I can modify a few things. I can maybe change the number of max runs. I can change the delay between successive runs, but for the most part our application should be functioning to a fairly decent or practical level. So let's go ahead and compile and flash this to our launchpad. And then I'm going to go ahead and push this button here for the serial monitor to open up right when code is done compiling and flashing to our launchpad. The first thing that the code is going to try to do is it's going to try and connect to Wi-Fi, and that's what happens here in the setup section of the code. And we'll see that in the terminal here once the code is done compiling and flashing to the launchpad. So let's go ahead and give it a second. Alrighty, so here's the COM port. Let's go ahead and clear it out here, and let's reset our board. There we go. You can see that it detects the booster pack. Now it's trying to connect to Wi-Fi. There we go. It's now connected to Wi-Fi, and the next thing we should see is a stream of numbers, which is our real-time analog readings. So we can see that it's a non-zero value because our moisture is detecting water. However, the second that I remove it from water, that reading will go down to 0, the if statement will become true, and at that point it'll actually start to run the Temboo code for triggering that text message with Twilio. So let's go ahead and give that a try. Let me turn up the volume of my phone so you can actually hear it when the text message comes in. Okay, so here's my cell phone, so we'll be ready to see the text message come through. But I'm going to go ahead and remove the sensor from the water, and you can see those readings on the moisture sensor are going down the less moist the sensor gets. But once I remove it completely, it goes down to 0, and at this point it generates that text message, and I should get it here on the phone. There you go. So let's zoom in, and you can see that's a text message just like we typed it into Temboo. I need water, I'm thirsty. So you can actually see it was pretty fast. You know, the launchpad was already connected to Wi-Fi. At that point, it was periodically reading the sensor value coming from the Grove module. And once this Grove module said I'd no longer detect water, and that if statement, sensor value equals 0, became true, only then did it run the Temboo generated code for triggering this text message. And maybe a few seconds later, as you can see, I get that here in my phone. So let me go ahead and zoom in into that text message. You can actually see, you get the appropriate timestamp of 9:17 a.m. You can see it's 9:18 at the current moment. And there you can see the complete message. I need water, I'm thirsty, from your plant. Cool. So that's the demo or the tutorial. Hopefully you enjoyed it. In a nutshell, there's a few types of technologies all coming together to make this application work. First and foremost, you have the Launchpad. That's the sort of brain of your application. And this could have worked with an MSP430 Launchpad, the TM4C, or the CC3200 Wi-Fi enabled Launchpad as well. If you're using a non-Wi-Fi enabled Launchpad, you will need the CC3100 Booster Pack, which adds Wi-Fi connectivity to non-native Wi-Fi capable boards. In addition to that, we're using the Grove Booster Pack that's plugged into the back of the Launchpad here that enables my Launchpad to interact with over 100 different Grove modules. This moisture sensor is just one of many. So if I wanted to generate a text message based on gas sensor data, or maybe I wanted to trigger a text message based on motion with the help of a PIR sensor, I can do that. Or another one could be a loudness detector. So we can actually use this microphone here to send me a text message when it detects loud noises in my house when I'm not at home. So lots of applications are possible with the fundamental sort of basics that we've gone through in this tutorial video. We're again using the Grove module here, the moisture sensor module, but then lastly we're using Energia on a software perspective with a little help from Temboo, a great partner of ours, and they've done a really good job enabling low-cost, easy-to-use hardware tools to interact with the cloud. So thank you very much. You can find more information on this ecosystem at ti.com/launchpad. And again, you can download Energia at energia.nu. So thanks for watching.